So right now we have this table, and in SQL there exist a lot of comparison operators. So let's say we want to select everything from users where ID, for example, is greater than 4. Now we're going to run the statement, and as you can see, now we only get IDs from 5 to 10 essentially, because 10 is our highest number and 5 is the lowest number above 4. We can also use the less than comparison operator, and now we only get the numbers below 4. We also have less or equal to 4, so let's run this, and now we also get 4, and we also have greater or equal to 4, for example, so now we get 4 up to 10. We can also use this operator, which is actually the not operator, so which is not 4 in this case. So now we get 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so everything except 4. And we could also say where ID, for example, is greater than 4, and now there's also an AND operator, and ID is less than 6, for example. So now we should get our values between 4 and 6. So let's run this. And now we get our 5 essentially, because that is the only number that is greater than 4 and less than 6. We could also use an OR operator. So we could say OR ID is equal to, let's say, 3, for example. Which doesn't make too much sense, but you get the idea, I guess. So now we have 3, 5, and so on. Because our first condition is that it is either above 4 or it is 3. So if one of those conditions becomes true, we will output this line. Now there also exists the between operator, so we can say where ID between 4 and 7, for example, or 7 like this. We're going to run the code, and now we get everything between 4 and 7, as you can see. We can also use the in operator, so we could, for example, say where country, for example, in, and now we could, for example, say in Germany or in Congo, for example. So now we will select everything where the country is in Germany or in Congo. So we get those users essentially. We can also use where country is not null, for example. So now we will select everything that is not null. As you can see, we only get the values where we have a country, or we could also check for is null. So we'll only get the values where country in our case is null. And as you can see, now we get all of the other users. If we want to check whether an email, for example, starts with a certain character, we can also use the like operator. So we can, for example, say where email like, and now we can define a pattern, for example, by using an expression. For example, we can say we want to start with P and A, for example, and whatever comes afterwards doesn't really matter. So we can use a % sign. So now we should get every email that starts with a P and an A, and we're going to run the code. And as you can see, we get 2 users, so essentially the users that are having the name PA or starting with the letters PA.